Yo, what's good, everybody? Back with your boy Mike. We're going to get into a little bit of a Bears video here. It's Wednesday night, still feeling a little bit depressed. Usually, after a tough loss, it's kind of like hangs you with you for the rest of that night, maybe the next day, and then, you sort of keep it moving into the next week, especially given our experience as Bears fans over the course of time. But for whatever reason, this one just hurts, man. It stings that much more. Bears, I feel like a little Dennis Green. It's like, we let him off the hook rant. Just tough to see happen. I could go on and on about that Monday night game. It's just tough to see at home in the spot they were in the fourth quarter, up 11. We kind of move everything else to the side, and J.J. McCarthy just goes and does what he needs to do to get a win, and Caleb Williams can't move the ball. They can't get up and down the field at all. Not letting the defense totally off. They, certainly collapsed themselves. They gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. It's just, you get worried, like, is this just going to be the same old story we keep kind of seeing at quarterback? I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'm just beaten down watching this Bears team week one. I didn't even have a ton of expectations like we sort of talked about. I thought that they would win 7 games, so I don't know why it hurts so bad. I think just the way that it unfolded. I don't know. Mike, what are your thoughts on week one and that 24-21 loss to the Vikings?
So they kind of dominated the first half, but at halftime, you're only up 10-6. And you're just like, how is it only 10-6? It should be like at least like 13-3, 16-3, something like that. Like, how in the world is it 10-6? And then you get that pick six, and you're feeling pretty good, 17-6. And then we have the ball, and it's finally a possession where we're kind of like running the ball and having some success with it. And I am having thoughts in my head like, this is it. Like, we're going to put them away. This is going to be a little bit different. This is going to feel different than any Bears game I've been into at home in a long time. We're going to comfortably win this by like 10 points or something like that. And then the sequence of the Darnell Wright phantom holding that was that was teach tape. That was perfect technique. Darnell Wright, he had a pre-snap penalty or two. I'm not saying he played a perfect game, but on that play, he had perfect technique that you want to see out of your right tackle. And then I think in that same sequence, Caleb got hit with that intentional grounding, if I'm not right. And then what looked like should have been a 35-yard field goal attempt to put us up by 14, I believe, turns into 50-yarder, which for Santos is impossible. And of course he misses it. And then as soon as he missed it, dude, I was at the game. The stadium deflated. The players deflated. Everyone knew what was going to happen, and it fucking happened. J.J. McCarthy scores 2 touchdowns in like 5 minutes, and you're just like, we dominated this game for 3 quarters, and now we're going to lose it. Like, what the fuck just happened? And yeah, there's a lot to be disappointed with in the game. I think nothing more important than the quarterback and the head coach. And then, unfortunately, our general manager, too. Like, some of the mistakes that Ryan Poles has made at GM are just setting this team back year after year. This year's no different. So, yeah, I mean, just overall, you come away completely deflated. You're thinking there's no reason you shouldn't win. Go to 1-0 on the year, 1-0 in the division, big win over Minnesota. Ugly at times, sure, but you're getting the W. And then just somehow we lose that game kind of comfortably then, like the other way. And it's just tough. And, you go from thinking like maybe 9 or 10 wins is possible to now you're like looking at the schedule and you're like, are we going to get to 6 wins? It's like, it's just such a roller coaster. You got to try to stay level headed. But just very disappointing. If you were to ask me, or if you were to tell me in the third quarter that we were going to lose that game, I mean, I would have been like, what the fuck? And of course we lost it.
Yeah, man. It's I feel like you could probably even hear it in both of our our tones. It's just like what the fuck is a good way to put it. I think I said 21, 24, 27, 24. But yeah, I don't know. I was at home watching, and it felt like one of those things where you're just like, oh, I've been here before. I've seen this movie 100 times. And yeah, you kind of got that of exactly how it was going to play out well before the outcome you knew was coming unfolded. I'm not going to rant or rip Ryan Poles right now too much. I feel like, you know my thoughts on that whole situation. It's the season now. The team is what the team is. I don't know why he got an extension. I'll never understand that. But there's nothing that's going to be done about that at this point in the season. So I feel like it's just kind of pointless to really divulge all that nonsense. Ben Johnson, the challenge was beyond idiotic. I said at the moment it happened, sitting on my couch, I knew that was stupid. I don't know how the coaching staff doesn't know what the rules are. So that was incredibly frustrating out of him. Otherwise, obviously he didn't do a good enough job down the stretch. They lit the game away. There's no doubt about it. But I was encouraged in general with, some things about the way that the offense looked. There were a lot of open guys. There were a lot of misses, unfortunately, by the quarterback. So I feel still pretty confident in the long-term success that Ben Johnson can be a legitimate coach in this league. And kind of along that same breath is like, I wouldn't say I'm lost confidence or am even trying my best not to lose any confidence, but I don't know, man. You see certain plays that Caleb Williams makes. He's not Mitch. He's not Justin Fields. His talent is so vastly superior to those two. It's a different conversation. But his inability to throw the ball accurately at times or play within the structure or read the defense to throw it to these guys that are wide ass open is certainly a concern. Now, do I have faith that over the course of time, Ben Johnson can help develop and correct some of those deficiencies? Yeah, I still do. I think, it'd be crazy to really give it up after 1 week, but that was tough, man. It's just tough to see that it doesn't look like he really took any sort of step from the end of last season to game one under this new regime. I was looking at something about how when Ben Johnson first got to Detroit in 2022, I think it was, Jared Goff's first 5 games under Ben Johnson, or maybe it was his first 6 games, he had a lot of similar issues. He was right around high 50 completion percentage. He was missing a lot of throws. Justin Fields, Jesus. Caleb Williams was the worst quarterback in the NFL week 1 for his actual completion percentage versus expected. The first 5-6 weeks that Jared Goff was in Ben Johnson's system, he ended up being 20 overall in actual completion percentage versus expected. Eventually, he got it to click. You know what happened with Detroit's offense. So there is that one data point in Ben Johnson's tenure as working with a quarterback. Jared Goff, also a former number 1 pick, so there are some pretty good similarities there. And I'm not totally ready to give up, but I also don't have patience, man. It's got to look a lot better and a lot quicker than I think it might, unfortunately. So we'll see how it plays out. With that said, they're going right on the road to that Detroit team. Going to be a lot of emotion in that game from both sides of the football for all the obvious reasons. And Detroit, similar than the Bears, they're coming off an incredibly disappointing week 1. So I'm sure they're also going to be that much more motivated, ready to go for their home opener this Sunday at Ford Field in Detroit. Mike, kind of, leading into that, let's just get right into it and let it rip. What are your keys to a Bears victory this weekend?
I got 2 pretty simple keys, and then I have the most complicated key we've ever had in my life. So bear with me here. First key, I think Ben Johnson did have struggles in his first game as a coach. He's got to be better. He's got to learn from it. They can't give up short time points right before the half. They got to take the points when they can get it sometimes. They're not a high-powered offense yet. So if you have the chance to get points, sometimes you got to just take them. The challenge that I will say every single Bears fan in the stands was calling for him to make, you got to know better than to not do it or than to do it. I believe he said that he had people in his ear telling him not to challenge it, and he did it anyway. So I would say Ben Johnson just has to have a better performance if the Bears are going to win. I would argue there was 3 or 4 time management mistakes throughout the course of that game. And you just can't have it if you're going to win a tough divisional game. So simple key, just Ben Johnson as the head coach, not as the play caller, have a little bit cleaner of a game.
Yeah, I like the way you put that at the end there specifically as a head coach. It is different responsibilities, certainly. He's not going to give up the play sheet. I wouldn't want him to.
No,
that's
me
why
neither.
you bring a guy like that here. But there is an entire other layer of that play caller to head coach. And yeah, I agree. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but you don't got a lot of time, man. It's not the MLB. You don't got 62 of these. You got 17, and now you only got 16. So he's going to have to learn on the fly and adapt. I didn't even know that he had that quote saying that the people in the headset were telling him not to challenge it. That's infuriating, quite frankly. Especially the way it played out, where obviously the timeout would have been very, very useful. But yeah, I like that key. Need a better game from your head coach, to help the guys get it across the line. Go ahead with key number 2.
Like I said, 2 of my keys are very simple. Second one's Caleb Williams. Got to be better. Don't necessarily have to be better than Jared Goff, but you got to be better than you were in week 1. These overthrows, these missed throws, it's so weird because it's just playing catch, man. Just some of these guys are wide open. Just be one of the best football throwers in the world and just complete a pass. Like it's really kind of weird. Like, it almost seems like, does he have like a depth perception issue or something? Like it's really strange. But Caleb's got to be better with some of the easy layup stuff. He's got to have a better game overall. He had a great first drive, at least from the stands. I know, Jack, you said from home it didn't look as impressive, but from the stands it did look relatively impressive. The stats were good for the first drive. And then obviously in like that 2-minute drill, once again, he's kind of cooking in the 2-minute at the end of the game. Granted, it's essentially garbage time because they're down by 10 points. But we need a complete game, a consistent game from Caleb if we're going to beat the Detroit Lions. So that's key number 2.
Yeah, I mean, he on that first drive, to your point there, of course they went and scored a touchdown. He was 5 for 5, 6 for 6, whatever it was. Like, box score is going to look good. Can think of 2 very clearly off the top of my head where he missed a wide open DJ Moore, and he missed a wide open Rome Odunze straight up the seam. Like, he just didn't read it. I don't know. Like, he obviously made the plays to get him down the field, and who's going to complain about that? But even from the jump, you could tell like the little bit of frustrations and issues from last year were still there. But yeah, same drive, he makes that throw where he's ripping to the sideline and just goes back across his body. Absolute dot. Great catch by Rome Odunze, but like, he put it where the only place he could put it. Rome also makes a hell of a play. Like, that's a throw that he's making, Mahomes is making, Josh Allen's probably making, and like, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Like, those moments are what I'm not ready to give up on it. So like, those are the moments. And then that fourth quarter, he's just got to unlock something about that last 2 minutes. I know the defenses are playing softer. They don't want to get beat over the top, so there is some easier stuff. But like, he's missing the easier stuff throughout the course of the game. That's the whole point. If he hits some of those easy shots, it's just going to open everything up for the whole offense. I gotta believe he's got it in him. Hopefully we start to see it this week. Key number 3.
Amen, man. Amen. This is the long, complex key, so everybody bear with me at home. I got about like 5 or 6 different pieces of Ryan Poles personnel that have to play better if this Bears team's going to win this week and really any game throughout the course of the season. So I'm just going to touch on them real quick. Cairo Santos, you got to figure out how to kick a ball through the back of the end zone. You got to make a 50-yard field goal. If not, we got to replace him. Torrey Taylor, you were a 4th-round draft pick. You are a below-average NFL punter right now. You need to be a top-tier NFL punter if we're going to have success. So figure it the fuck out. Jonah Jackson, not only was he traded for, he was given an extension, if I believe. He was the worst graded offensive guard in the NFL week 1. Maybe we give some credit to the Minnesota interior offensive line, but figure it out, Jonah Jackson. Ryan Poles made however many draft picks this draft in April or May, whenever the hell the draft is. There was essentially zero contribution from the draft class. Colson Loveland had a couple catches. That's great. And Luther Burden had 1 kick return that was nice as time expired in the first half. That was it. Kyle Monungai caught 1 ball, I think, and had a penalty. So, I mean, we have DJ Moore running out of the backfield when we have a running back we drafted who gets 0 carries. A tight end we take top 10 overall. He gets 2 targets. Meanwhile, the kid in Indy's getting like 8. and he was like the number 1 graded tight end this week. And then these last two things with the Ryan Poles pieces. This team has something about them where the second they face adversity, they crumble. And that is part of what Ryan Poles has put together, and that is what Ben Johnson is coaching. They got to figure out how to get these guys to have a little bit of pride and gumption and belief in themselves the second things go wrong. As soon as Cairo missed that field goal the other day, everybody on that sideline knew they were losing that game, and you can't convince me otherwise, and it's disgusting. The defense that was pretty good through 3 quarters, pretty damn good, was terrible in the fourth quarter. They need to know, okay, our kicker missed, but we've had such a good game. We have to step up. We have to carry the team. And they just crumbled, man. They started getting gashed on the ground. Like, it was terrible. And week 1's not going to be every week. I get that, but if you've watched this team for the last 3 years, that's like the story of them. It's as soon as the tough gets going, they want to go home. They don't want to fight and get a W. And in this league where the other side's paid and everybody's got pride and people want to win, you're going to be a bottom 5 team if you don't figure out how to win when you're facing some adversity. And they got to prove that to me more than anything. More than Ben Johnson's got to prove anything. More than Caleb's got to prove his talent to me. Like, these guys, this whole group of guys has got to figure out how to face adversity and still lock in and play hard and not just crumble. And that's key number 3 is just the roster that Brian Poles has assembled has got to get better and tougher quickly, and they have to play better this week than they did last week.
That was complicated, a lot to unpack. From my perspective, I'll just say, like, the piece on the defense, it does concern me a little bit. My number 1 concern about this team going into this season was in my opinion, the lack of what we did on the defensive front. That looked okay for most of the game, but then once Kevin O'Connell decided to just lean on his running game and really commit to it, even though they were down 11, they started dominating. That does worry me a little bit moving forward. Like, the Lions' run game looked horrific last Sunday. Are they just going to run up and down the field on us? I don't know. That'll tell a great story. And then to your point about the draft picks, that is such a big piece of this whole puzzle. You can't draft a tight end, number 10 overall, and give him 2 or 3 targets. Why'd you draft him there? That's absolute lunacy. Burden, he was a rumor as far as I could tell. So that's very well said. You don't draft those guys in those positions if you're not going to use them. So you better see some return on investment pretty quickly with that kind of draft capital. But yeah, that's a lot. They'll just call them, key number 1, the whole roster. Got to toughen up, go out there, fight for each other, and find a way to win some football games throughout the course of the season, hopefully starting on Sunday. If one thing breaks wrong, don't let it sink the ship. Key number 2, Caleb, got to be better, got to figure it out. Key number 3, Ben Johnson, got to do a better job as a head coach, big picture, not just kind of locked in on that play calling. You got a lot more on your plate. You got to learn how to handle it so we can start taking care of business. You got a score prediction? Anything you want to add? I think it's, it moved. It was 4.5. At the second the Bears game ended, it jumped to 5.5. And then I think I saw it all the way out to 6 before it bounced back.
I do think the Bears cover. It's one of my best bets of the week. If people don't watch those videos, I could see a world where they find a way to win the game and they do find a way to pull it through. I'm not betting Bears money line. I'm betting Bears plus 5.5. And it's because I could see a world where Detroit's happy with a field goal win and they get out of there, and probably the Bears lost by that field goal in an embarrassing, dysfunctional way. But I like Bears plus 5.5. I don't know if I would go as far as to predict a Bears victory this week.
It'll be tough. Lions are still a veteran team. They're going to be motivated to not slip to 0-2. They in their building, they probably think they got some pretty legitimate Super Bowl aspirations, even if me and you don't necessarily see or agree with that. So they'll be ready to go. But man, did they look bad against the Packers?
Yeah,
so I don't know. Maybe that coaching exodus, that offensive line reshuffling and losing a couple guys. Who knows? Maybe Detroit's not the juggernaut that they have been the last 2 seasons, and the Bears have had decent success against Detroit even when they have been good. So I don't know, man. It's tough to go out on that limb and say they're going to find a way to come out of Ford Field with the W. But man, you better compete, man. You better compete. All right, we'll leave it there. Big game Sunday. Hopefully a bounce back spot. Hopefully we're feeling much better. I think if we land 1-1 by hook or by crook, that's probably right where we sort of thought, hoped, expected to be after 2 weeks. So it can change quickly in this in this league, man. So hopefully they're able to bring us some good mojo on Sunday, and we're able to roll from there. But yeah, as Mike always says, hit the bell, give us a like, subscribe. He's doing some sick stuff on Instagram. This guy's an executive producer guru. So he's doing his thing. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bears.